Alright, so we got the full summary for chapter 1078 spoilers, and we're finding out who the traitor is in this chapter. And I'm a little late to it, so I'm sure a lot of you already know. But, at least we'll get to talk about it in this video. And I gotta say, it's pretty much what none of us expected, or at least I didn't hear anybody talking about who it was. But let's get into it. So on the cover of this chapter, we see Germa 66's An Emotionless Excursion, Volume 33. Neo Mads is established. In the cover, Judge and Caesar appear holding hands while Germa soldiers celebrate the alliance and Reiju Ichiji sighing in the background. So this is really interesting, and I guess this is where it was eventually headed, right? Because in the last cover story with these guys, we saw that they decided that Vegapunk was the true goal or obstacle or whatever. So they were like, hey, let's get the band back together. So we got Neo Mads here, which is basically just Caesar and Judge, and maybe Queen will be a part of it too. But this could potentially be like another big team thrown into the finals here, because me and Sai actually talked about this I think like 2 weeks ago in our collab about like the remaining teams or crews left in the race for the One Piece, and there wasn't really as many as you would think, but I think this might be a new team possibly. I mean, we don't know what their motives are, but we'll see eventually. Chapter starts with Stussy. She's using her personal Denden Mushi to talk directly to Sentomaru. Stussy informs him that Kizaru is coming to Egghead Island. The plan is to have Marine forces coming as backup since the world government is taking extreme precautions due to 1. The content of Vegapunk's research is beyond Ohara's discoveries. Egghead Island has a defense force unlike Ohara. So that's why the world government is moving their forces far beyond a normal buster call. We can see that people start evacuating all over Egghead Island. So yeah, this is super interesting, and I'm glad that this is being addressed. So it seems like Stussy is still has her face turned. I don't think she's going to be evil, because I know that she was one of the top candidates as well for a possible traitor. But now that we know who the traitor is, and again guys, we'll talk about it soon, but it's not Stussy, and I like that she's kind of keep her face turn here. I think she works better as a face. We already have enough heals, the way that she is, but we did see, I think in the previous chapter or 2 chapters back, forgive me, this massive fleet, one of the biggest fleets that we've seen of the Marines in the series so far, going towards Egghead. And like it says here, it is more than a buster call, way beyond that. We even have Kizaru and the freaking Saturn from the Gorosei coming. Still haven't seen them yet. Maybe they'll show up in the next chapter. Who knows? But something really has to happen, because these are way too many ships for the current characters to take on. Yes, Luffy and Zoro are pretty ridiculously strong, but man, I don't even think they could take down the thousands of soldiers along with Kizaru and whatever Saturn could do along with the Seraphims. Cut to Frankies Group. Frankie is partly paralyzed due to petrification of half of his body, but he could still talk. Pythagoras asks S-Snake in tears who gave her the order. S-Snake doesn't reply to him. Then she stomps on Pythagoras and causes a huge explosion. Whoa, so Pythagoras might be dead here. I mean, he was already reduced to a head, but this might be the killing blow here, and I think that might ultimately lead to the traitor winning here, and I'll get more into that, but I do think that all of the Vegapunks are going to die. Even Stella, unfortunately. I mean, I kind of speculated about that anyway. It just seems like he was doomed to die. He's too good of a character to live, it would be too broken if the Straw Hats have him. I mean, it would be cool and I would like to see it, but I just have a feeling that Oda is just going to off him, because it would just be too convenient for them, especially if they take him to Elbaf. Everything would seemingly be working out with them too well. But I don't know, I'm still kind of on the fence about it. But if Stella doesn't die, then all of the other Vegapunks besides the traitor is definitely going to die, and I think this is the beginning here. But we also saw Frankies Group taking on S-Snake previously, and she was able to petrify at least part of Frankie, because she just used Perfume Femur on Frankie, not the Love Love Mellow that she used on Usopp and Lilith, which is better, I guess. Cut to Robin's group. Robin analyzes that while everyone is busy fighting the Seraphim, maybe something could happen to Stella. Atlas says here is one abandoned lab that was sealed off a long time ago. Robin asks Atlas to lead her and Chopper there. So this room that was sealed off for a long time ago, I can't see it. Obviously, we haven't gotten the panels yet, or at least I haven't. Not really sure what this is, but hopefully it is something significant, because Robin is the one that's being focused on here. So if it's like another secret room, coincidentally and conveniently, just like what she found in Wano with the poneglyph there, the road poneglyph, this might be something similar to that. I don't think it's going to be a poneglyph, but it might be something to further give Robin useful information coming out of this arc, because we know the next arc is going to heavily focus on Robin more. Not heavily. I don't think Oda is really into heavily focusing on any of the Straw Hats individually anymore, but she'll at least get more spotlight than the others, along with Usopp. But, we've been saying that for literally years now. But if it's not that, then I guess they're just going to the old Devil Fruit research room where Stella and the other Cypher Pole agents are, possibly. Cut to Sanji's group. Nami is holding Edison in her arms. Brook, in ghost form, says he will go look for Vegapunk. Sanji versus X-Shark continues. Sanji stands in front of S-Shark and lets S-Shark punch him, but Sanji takes 0 damage from S-Shark's punch. Sanji says, "Do you know this? This is called the power of love." So that's obviously Cap from Sanji. I mean, maybe it is some kind of love thing in there, but most of it is something that he doesn't even fully understand himself, along with the audience. So back in Wano, when Sanji was taking on Queen, he inexplicably had like this crazy, like absurd power up to the point of where he just went from high diffing, possibly not even diffing Queen at all, to just no diffing him in the span of 1 chapter. Like, it was probably the most significant power increase in a fight in Wano that we had. Like, even more than Luffy going Gear 5 against Kaido. And it seems like Sanji has definitely still retained that power creep coming into this arc, because it's already been established that the Seraphims are pretty powerful, and not even they can do anything to Sanji. So there's going to be an explanation for this, and I don't think he's going to stay this way because it would just be too broken. So there has to be some kind of drawback or stipulation to this, or just something that will eventually hinder Sanji in some way, unless he's just unbeatable from this point on, which would just be odd. But I do think there is going to be a special reveal as to what's going on for him. Of course, like, we need to know what it is. It has something to do with what Judge did to him when he was like born, I suppose. Also, along with whatever his mother did before she passed. Like, she took some kind of medicine, or I don't know, some kind of juice or something, and it wound up messing with Sanji. And I think it's giving him these abilities here, which seem to be similar to the Lunarians. And I speculated about this when we first heard about the possibility of this being a thing back in Wano. Like, Queen said something about the Lunarians and compared it to Sanji, and I thought that was like a hint, because Sanji can also produce fire, and that's not like mutually exclusive to the Lunarians. We saw that Luffy can do it with Red Hawk, and also Shanks can do it with his sword in Film Red. So I think it might be just an advanced manipulation of Haki to do the whole fire stuff, like the Diablo Jambe, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sanji does have like a hint of like Lunarian in him or something. Cut to Luffy's group. The Seraphim doesn't let their flame go out, so Luffy and the others still can't manage them. Suddenly, S-Hawk disappears from the fight, and Lucci says that he must have changed his target to weaker ones, since attacking weaker members of the group will also affect concentration of stronger members like Luffy. Zoro and Kaku follow S-Snake. Luffy and Lucci continue fighting S-Bear. After that, the narrator starts to speak while we see Bonnie sitting and crying before Kuma's memory. The narrator says that these are all the events that happen the day before the famous Egghead Incident. However, the causes of this incident started 3 months ago. A new flashback starts. 3 months ago, Mary Joie received a message from Egghead Island. A mysterious person informed that Vegapunk was researching the Void Century. The world government sent some Cypher Pole agents to find out the truth, and the Cypher Pole agents didn't find any evidence, but all of them vanished on their way back. A little later, the mysterious person called Mary Joie again. This time, the mysterious person asked to call the Gorosei direct. After the conversation, the Gorosei was convinced that Vegapunk betrayed them, so the Gorosei sent CP0 to eliminate Vegapunk. But as a backup measure, in case Vegapunk retaliates, one member of the Gorosei decided to head there himself, along with Kizaru and the Marine forces from all Marine bases. The force heading to Egghead Island now is already on the same scale as a war. As the narrator speaks, we can see a montage with Saturn, Kizaru, Vice Admiral Dahl, and some other new Marines, similar to the montage of Marines arriving at Marineford before impelled down in Chapter 524. Narrator says the conclusion of Egghead Incident and the next day will shock the world in a way that no one has imagined. Okay, before we go further, let me just say that, holy crap, this might end with Saturn dying, because if he does, then that would certainly change the world in a way that no one has imagined. But other than that, anyone's guess is pretty good at this point, because we are on the verge of a war, but I don't think we're going to see that war. I do think the Straw Hats are going to escape to Elbaf before any serious, major war or large-scale battles go down. We discover who the traitor is in the last double page of the chapter. The traitor is York. She appears in front of Stella. She has the same cute smiling expression we saw in the other chapters, but a bit more creepy. York talks with Stella. She says, "Hey Stella, I'm gonna be a Tenryubito," which is a celestial dragon. Stella says, "What? Didn't you see them when we went to Marijois? Why would you want to be such a despicable human being?" And York says that's what Shaka would say, but he's dead now. Ha ha ha. All these Vegapunks are such nuances. The world only needs one Vegapunk. End of chapter, no break next week. So yeah, that's it. York was the traitor, and this is pretty much going along the lines of one of the possibilities that I speculated about with this traitor thing. You know, I thought if it wasn't going to be one of like the cool, exciting ideas or speculations that we've been going over these last couple weeks, then it was going to be some character that we didn't really think about, or it just wasn't really doing too much. So it was kind of just like, yeah, it was this character the whole time. So yeah, it was that, and it's York. And I say that because I would say the majority of us in the community didn't really speculate that York was the traitor. And that's fine. Maybe this is Oda's doing. Maybe he wanted to make it look like everybody else was the traitor but York. And he did it successfully because York was the most incognito one, right? The most nonchalant one. Didn't really care about her. She didn't really have too much dialogue or too many scenes. But if we go back to chapter 1075, I guess this is the chapter that confirms she's pretty much the traitor. So she's with Frankie, Lilith, and Usopp's group. And they come across Pythagoras, who had his head blown off. And they're trying to figure out what's going on, and they come across S-Snake. And as York is walking up to S-Snake, Pythagoras' head is like, we could have made a mistake in that design stage referring to Snake. And he's like, where's York? And then he notices that she's talking to S-Snake. And he's like, York. And then York says to S-Snake, like, you're supposed to be waiting out front. Oh, you're so cute. And then, you know, York gets petrified by the Love Mellow from the S-Snake. And I guess this is the last time we saw York. So that means that this was all what York wanted. Like, she specifically gave the orders for S-Snake to turn her into stone so that no one would speculate that she's the traitor. Both the characters and the audience, I suppose, and it worked out. So, yeah, the glutton aspect of Vegapunk is actually the evil one. I'm sure there's going to be a way to explain this as to like why Lilith is likable and why York isn't, because, you know, Lilith is the evil aspect, so she should naturally be the one with these ambitions. But no, it is York. She wants to be the only Vegapunk and join the Celestial Dragons. On paper, I mean, it makes sense in the One Piece world, but, you know, you're just living with a bunch of psychopathic sociopaths. But that's neither here nor there. Really looking forward to the next chapter, guys. Let me know what you thought about this one in the comments. And if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. See you in the next one.